All right, that was the former president giving what was much more of like a campaign speech than a direct response to the charges of the day, going through all the greatest hits, going back to the beginning, Russiagate, impeachment, Ukraine, the whole bit. And also, and this was maybe, I wasn't necessarily expecting this, talking not just about the indictments from today, but going through each of the potential charges that could come against him with regards to documents and fake elector scheme. He talked specifically about Fulton County. And by the way, disclaimer for YouTube, any nonsense that he said about the election is exactly that. So we are not endorsing any of the claims that he made in that video. But what are you guys' top line thoughts, Saagar?
I'm stunned at how short the speech was. It comes in at exactly 21 minutes. It's one of the shortest speeches that Trump has given in a while. I've seen him give speeches at like the Easter dedication for the White House, which are longer. But number one was not spending more time going through the specifics, not talking about the indictment. Actually, I thought it was a smart move because he basically pulled back. And I thought it was a bit of a tell, spending more of his time, not even on Alvin Bragg. If you look at, and somebody can go do the statistical analysis, dramatically more time talking about the documents, about the Presidential Records Act, and about the Fulton County, Georgia. It might actually be an insight into his thinking as to where he faces genuine legal and political jeopardy, not actually looking at this as all that much of a threat. One of the most important lines, Philip Wegman flagging from Real Clear Politics, is that he said that prosecutors wanted him to settle the case, but, quote, I want no part of that. Now, look, obviously, we have no idea whether that is true or not. It's certainly possible, I guess, that it could be true, that they were trying to roll him up or get him to a plea deal just so everybody can get a press release.
Roll him up on who? He's the president of the United States.
That's a good point.
I don't know. It would be more powerful.
The UN.
Like,
tell us what really happened.
Who's the Davos guy? What's his name?
Klaus Schwab.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. If we can roll Trump up.
And it's funny because you were just talking about eating bugs,
That's
Saagar.
true. I was just talking about, I have eaten bugs, just so people know.
Well,
They
we
weren't
were
that bad.
talking about
I ate them in
Trump was
Thailand.
talking.
They were
I'm not
fried
doing it.
nicely with some nice spices.
Not sending me to the pod.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, what'd you guys think? What was your
it was like a good Billy Joel concert. He's playing all the hits. Like he was feeling it. Like it wasn't the Trump that just kind of stumbled out there right after that the election. I think he very much regretted taking the advice of his advisors who A, said he should announce at that point, and B, said that he should stick to the script and try to be this politician who's like plays within the rules. And he did that, and he's like, well, now look what they did. They're trying to throw me in jail. So, he's just going to say, well, screw it. What's the point? And it will set him up. It gives him a reason to run his campaign, because now he can just say he's fighting off all of these different forces that are coming at him, which then means that he doesn't actually have to say what he's going to do if he's elected.
I almost have this thought. I'm curious what you guys think. This, to me, is like almost the real campaign launch of 2024. Like his original campaign, it was such a snooze fest. We covered it all here live. We made a whole big to-do out of it. And we watched it and we're like, that's it? Like, it's so disappointing. It felt genuine with him, just watching him, meandering all over the place. Chinatown is my personal favorite. We're all trying to figure out, we're like, what is he talking about here? That is a part of a vintage Trump. His energy seemed there. He seemed more in a fighting posture. Krystal, what did you think overall?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of an in-between vibe, because certainly higher energy than the campaign launch, which was almost like very somber affair. But he was more or less on script, right? I mean, a short speech. He more or less stuck to the teleprompter with a few little ad-libs here or there. So it was like, in terms of the Trump vibe, it was kind of in between. He clearly had a lot more energy than he did at the campaign launch. And a couple things stand out to me. Number one, to your point, Saagar, I'm not sure it is smart strategically for him to focus on all the range of charges, because these particular charges are the weakest of all of them and the ones that he has the most to work with. So I'm actually a little surprised from a tactical perspective that he didn't just like laser in on these and hammer it home and get all the talking points going. And then the move is, which he has done before, everything else, even though the other things may have more merit and may be more difficult to dismiss, you just lump them in the same category and say, see, it was a witch hunt with Alvin Bragg, and these are all witch hunts too, without having to get into all the specifics of like the FARA, the document like group and whatever, the acronyms that he's using that I don't even know, obviously, off the top of my head. So I was surprised by that tactically. I do think it's a tell that he, like you kept pointing to, Emily, saying this is the tip of the iceberg. He clearly sees it that way as well. He sees this as the first of probably a number of charges he's going to have to deal with. And so he is already trying to make his case about all of those charges right now from the beginning. So I think that is noteworthy. And then on the politics of it, and Emily, I'd love to get your thought about this. Again, this just makes it impossible for any other Republican contender. Because this is like the campaign launch. And guess what? It's not about policy or, you know, what you're going to do for your state or for the country or whatever. It's about the litany of the attacks on him that he sees as unfair and all the people that are out to get him. How do you compete with that when that is the landscape that he is crafting and that is going to be the landscape that the media is playing on too going into the primary elections?
You absolutely don't. And I actually wonder if that's factoring into Ron DeSantis's decision to test the waters in a way. He's not in Iowa and New Hampshire and South Carolina like Tim Scott, like Mike Pompeo, like other people that are declared. Of course, he is an acting governor, but at the same time, he really has waded, I think, with more hesitance and reluctance into those waters than anyone else, because if the election is about Donald Trump, the only person who's going to win a Republican primary is Donald Trump. If one of the top issues every single day is that, you know, for Republicans, the government is being weaponized to pursue a political enemy, and that political enemy is Donald Trump. Even if it's a proxy, a symbol, Trump always says it's not about me, it's about you, I'm only in the way. If that's it, he's still the one in the way. So it doesn't make any sense that you could see somebody eating at the media attention. I understand all the arguments that there are different lanes for different Republican candidates going forward. I get it. But if this becomes the headline news over and over again, now that we have super hungry district attorney down in Atlanta, we have a special counsel probe on the documents. That's, to Ryan's point he made earlier, that was huge in the midterm elections, was forcing the conversation about Trump with the documents. Democrats were very successful in making every candidate who was running everywhere talk constantly about Donald Trump, answer for Donald Trump. It made the MAGA candidates talk. It was like bait for them, talk more and more and more about Donald Trump. He has raised $10 million since the indictment. This is a big
That's
number.
a lot of money.
$10 million since the indictment. So not only in the sort of media ecosystem will he eat up all of the different time and conversation, he could also do that with donors.
Yes.
It's also entirely possible that because he's the high-profile subject of this, he gets all of the funding money.
I kept thinking about that too. You know, earlier when I was watching, Joe Biden is the president, and he is the most irrelevant man today. In the middle of his own tenure, the press, the White House, CNN is chartering a speedboat to watch this man plane land. The helicopter shots, the drones. There were hundreds of press assembled outside of Manhattan, and the president of the United States is sitting in the White House, and they, quote, called a lid, like no public events scheduled at 3:00 p.m. because they're like, no, it's like they're not even involved in any of this. And I just kept thinking about this. The Trump era began the day that he walked down the escalator. It will end the day that he dies. Even when he's not a candidate, he is literally the center of gravity of politics. He was like that even the first 2 years before he decided he was going to run again against Biden. And when you're the center of gravity, how do you run against that? He's almost a larger than life figure. He's not even political. He's metacultural now at this point. Ron DeSantis, what is your case to Republican voters? Like, you know, I saw Richard Hanania say this. He's like, listen, DeSantis won't win because there are not people on YouTube who consider themselves like actual QAnon preachers for Trump who think they're going to deliver. Like no one is like out there having shrines of DeSantis like he's going to deliver me from Wayfair pedophiles.
What you're saying is that there's an opening in the market.
I mean, look, I get it. You're right. That's what Counterpoint should start doing.
I don't know.
You know who?
Listen, go for it.
You know who it benefits? You know who
Yes.
it benefits the most to have Joe Biden out of the news?
What do you think?
Joe Biden.
Of course,
of course.
yes.
Yeah.
And that's the craziness of it all, right? That's the craziness of it.
And that's what I was thinking about is, listen, whether they're right or not, and I think they're very foolish and they are forgetting history to be like, we want Donald Trump to be the nominee. That is what Democrats think.
Yes.
They want Donald Trump to be the nominee. They are more fearful of Ron DeSantis as a contender. The best thing for Joe Biden that could possibly happen is for Trump and the Trump circus to be dominating in the news and Biden to just be laying back and not saying anything. So you have really like a full service economy here. The corporate media on the liberal side is going to be interested in leaning into this. And I mean, in a sense, like, we're doing that. I can't blame them because it is historic to have a former president who is being indicted on this charge and probably a range of other charges as well. They're going to be leaning into it and making Trump the center of their ire. Conservative media is going to, whether they want to or not, they're going to have to do the same thing on the other side and focus a lot on these and rebutting these charges. And that's going to be the center of gravity there. All of the oxygen in the political ecosystem is going to be taken up once again by Donald Trump. Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Saagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.